just lead you like I never done before. Help me if you can.
Welcome back. For tonight's Focus segment, we're looking at the effectiveness of foreign aid. As our politicians grapple with balancing the budget, it seems that our contribution to helping those less fortunate than ourselves may actually be in question. Both sides of politics had promised to increase foreign aid spending to 0.5% of our national income by 2016, but it now looks like we'll miss even that target. I sat down with the CEO of World Vision Australia, Tim Costello. I began by asking him if, in the current circumstances, it's realistic to expect Australia to continue increasing its foreign aid spend.
It is for Australia. For other governments like Spain and Portugal, I understand with 30–40% unemployment, they cannot meet their promises.
Many people would look at what they see as the huge amount we spend on foreign aid and say, well, what difference has it made?
It sounds a lot to say. Since 1960, the world rich countries, including Australia, have given $3.6 trillion. It only actually, it sounds huge, is $20 a person per year in poor countries. There's not a lot you can do with $20. We have people criticising it and saying aid doesn't work. Well, we spend $400 billion a year on weight loss programs. Does that mean because there's still fat people around, we say, oh, it doesn't work? We're only spending $120 billion a year on aid, all Western governments, $400 billion on weight loss programs. So a bit of perspective. But the question is right, does aid work? And I say very proudly, aid not only works, it's the most beneficial expenditure of the Australian government. By that I mean in terms of lives saved and kids given a chance.
There is a broader question though right now, because the relationship between the developed world and the developing world is shifting so significantly, and the financial authority that developed countries once wielded over less financially able countries is no longer there. So should this concept of aid actually change in a fundamental way right now?
Absolutely. Aid is meant to be temporary. People who are poor don't want aid. They don't just want a hand out, they want a hand up. So aid is meant to deal with diarrhoea and pneumonia and malaria to keep them alive. The next question is, well, they're alive, how do you educate them? Aid with World Vision also invests in education. The next question is, well, if they're educated, they actually want a job. That's where good governance and proper trade and real business investment. Aid isn't to be permanent because it creates dependency. It's why World Vision moves out of an area after 15 years, and we say right at the start of the 15 years, the money will stop, we will leave. This is to lift you to sustainability. It's a hand up, not a hand out.
There's some recent figures released regarding poverty which painted actually a very optimistic picture of our future in terms of the number of people that will actually still be living in poverty, very small compared with what we've had over the last century. Do you think we'll get to a point where aid as we know it becomes almost defunct?
Yeah, we are on this amazing trajectory. And even in my short time in World Vision, you know, I've seen the number of deaths dropping from 40,000 children a day down to 19,000 children a day. When people say aid doesn't work, I just want to say, have a look at the figures. The big challenge in the future around sustainability is when those poor say, you know, we're not just happy to eat rice anymore, we want a bit of protein.
And we want a car and a smartphone.
And we want a smartphone, and we start to redefine absolute poverty, which is malnutrition, to actually, well, we want nutrition that includes protein, which means using far more acres of wheat for beef-fed cattle. How are we going to do this? And that rising expectation is what the Sustainable Development Goals are about, because we are marching really strongly to defeat absolute poverty.
Tim Costello, thank you very much for talking to us.
That's a pleasure, Hamish.
Plenty to think about there. Let's go over to Hermione.